In a democratic society, the media serves as crucial watchdog, ensuring transparency and accountability in electoral processes. By investigating and reporting on electoral practices, the media not only informs the public but is to uphold democratic standards. Through comprehensive coverage, media outlets bring to light issues such as voter fraud, electoral irregularities, and policy changes, fostering an informed electorate and encouraging civic participation. They also play an important role in educating voters about their rights and the importance of their participation in democratic processes. With the rise of digital media, information dissemination has become faster and more widespread, enabling real-time updates and engagement. Social media platforms in particular have amplified voice evidences, exposed malpractice, and demand accountability. However, challenges still remain, such as misinformation, political bias, and attempts to suppress press freedom remain significant obstacles. Strengthening media independence, promoting ethical journalism, and enforcing regulations against electoral disinformation can further enhance the role of the media in advancing electoral reforms in Nigeria. I am Ezenwa Wagu. Welcome to Electoral Reform Half Hour on NTA News 24 Abuja. This program is brought to you by Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa with generous support from MacArthur Foundation. My guest today is Comrade Christopher Isiguzo, MFR. He is the president of the Congress of African Journalists, a seasoned Nigerian journalist, and indeed former president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and in fact at some point the global president of journalists, I think for a one-year period. He served as the national president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists from 2018 to 2024, that's just recently, and a former This Day newspaper bureau chief for the Southeast region, and played crucial role in advocating press freedom, media reforms, and journalist welfare. Under his leadership, the NUJ underwent significant constitutional reforms and gained international recognition. Honored with the Member of the Order of the Federal Republic, MFR, Isiguzo remains an influential voice in Nigeria's media landscape. It's my pleasure to have you, Comrade Christopher Isiguzo. MFR, I'd like to add that.
Yeah, sure.
For emphasis.
Yeah, sure. That's the national recognition, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
It has something to do with your commitment to, just like my intro said about workers' welfare. But what has it been like since you transited from NUJ to the
Well, it's been interesting, leading journalists in Nigeria for a period of 6 years. It's not a mean feat, and we've been, before I became the president, I was the vice president of the Southeast. I was national officer from 2009 until 2012 when I became the VP. So for a stretch of about 15 years, I was in the national leadership of the union, and capping it up with being the president of the union. So I really appreciate journalists in the country for reposing their confidence in me, for giving me all the necessary support. And when the time came for us to move on, we organized what turned out to be one of the best conferences organized by the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Triennial Delegates Conferences, and we had a smooth transition. Now we have a seasoned journalist, also as the president of NUJ today, Comrade Alassane Yaya Abdullahi. He's doing well.
I'm going to have to get Al-Hassan to be here. I knew when you were the bureau chief of This Day in the Southeast, we had some engagement.
Sure.
But much more, your period in NUJ, you engaged INEC, you engaged security agencies on security, to how to improve safety and independence of journalists who cover election. What is your experience with that?
Well,
and do you think that you have made any significant progress in that?
There's no way we are going to make any success, so to speak, without effectively engaging strategic stakeholders, because the groups you've mentioned are very key stakeholders if we must make progress in our polity. You talk about the election management body, the INEC. You talk about security agencies. Yes, very, very importantly, we engage them. The police, the secret police, of course, the DSS, the military. We had a series of engagements with them, because one thing we always had, you know, every other day you received calls from across the country. There could be a deliberate clampdown. There could be issues around harassment, you know, intimidation of journalists. You know, always getting reports that we're having problem with the security operatives and all that. You know, and it created a picture that seemed like it's a question of we versus them. And when we came on board, we felt, no, this is not the way. We are all working towards building a saner polity for all of us. We are the media professionals. They operate from the security flank, but we have a central destination. One point is where we are all arriving. So there's need for us to work together, you know, have that collaboration, you know, so to speak, so that the system will be okay. If we have a conducive environment to ply our trade, it will be in the overall interest of the people, you know. But if the environment is not conducive, it is toxic, we are working at cross purposes, there's no way they are going to achieve their own goals, and there's no way we are going to achieve ours. So there is need for us, let there be that collaborative engagement. Yeah. And that's exactly what we introduced. You know, before we came on board, we always had issues around picketing, down tools, you know, back on industrial. No, we came with a different approach, a different system. The lawyers call it alternative dispute resolution mechanism. We felt we could also engage and introduce that in our own system. And I can tell you that to a very large extent it paid off. You know, I recall the first election that I was in office as president, and the kind of reports we got, and the second election that I witnessed as president. When you compare the kind of statistics of issues, harassment and all that, you will see it's like between sleep and death.
Okay, well, that takes me to, you know, sometimes during elections, media people, journalists, take very, sometimes subtly, sometimes open, you know, political positions, so to speak. Do you think that neutrality for the media is possible or realistic?
Well, it is possible, it is realistic. One thing you must know, let's not gloss over that. Media is also business. You know, if you look around the number of media,
should it be completely business?
It may not necessarily be completely business, but sadly, politically exposed persons, political actors are getting involved, you know, in the media system. You know, if you take time to look at the number of television stations, radio stations, independent, not the public ones, you know, the newspapers, you see that the politically exposed persons are getting actively involved. They are getting involved. And there's no way you are going to tell them that, because you are doing media, forget about your political leanings. If you also look at some developed democracies, you know, for instance, in the US, there are key media platforms that we know, and we also know their political leanings. There's no doubt about it. You know, much as that is there, we must not lose sight of the fact that the society looks up to the media. You know, so we must find a way of balance, so that while you try as much as possible to protect the interests of the people, you also have to remain afloat. Because if at the end of the day you cannot buy diesel to be on air, I can tell you that nobody is going to patronize you, and you'll be out of business.
So, Mr. President, we hire talents and turn them to marketers?
I didn't say so.
I'm just saying.
No. I didn't say so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm away from that. I'm also we concerned about voter turnout, and I know that during your period, I knew you were loud about getting people to come out, vote, and all of that. In spite of all of that, this has persisted. What more do you think needs to happen to be able to get more and more people to participate in elections?
Anybody that you have seen that has succeeded in business was once a failure. That means he must have tried in other areas, he didn't succeed, and eventually succeeded. The fact that we have tried it over time and we seem not to have achieved that which we have in mind, it's not enough for us to give up. We will keep making more efforts. You understand?
Yes.
Gone are those days when we just say that the media is just to inform, educate, and entertain. Now we really have to broaden it, because if the media is not actively in this, then there's going to be problem. We must begin to try other strategies, because if you are going to use the same strategy, which probably has not given you enough results, and you keep doing it over and over again, you are not going to have a result that is different from the one you used to have. That means we haven't done enough. It's not just the business of the media. The election management body must also earn the trust and confidence of the people. Because by the time you go into an election and the results cast, it does not reflect that, then you are making them lose that confidence. And when they lose the confidence, there's no will bring them back. Because they also want to be sure that if they participate in this process, the outcome is going to reflect.
Yes, but election is a very divisive thing, and you are a veteran. You've contested so much, so many. You've won some. In fact, you have won many of the elections that you have participated in. When people lose, they are the louder, and that's where the media comes in terms of objectively putting out what the facts are.
Yeah.
Because somebody is shouting does not necessarily mean that the person is right.
Yeah, sure.
So many times we talk about these trusts, the trust of, but what about the politicians? What about the present for
the
people to yes? Are we engaging? Is it something you think needs to happen beyond, the trust deficit within the electoral management body? There are other stakeholders.
Yeah.
What do we need to do with them?
Sure. When I started with the EMB, election management body, it was just like mentioning the first.
Okay.
There is a whole gamut of people that are involved in this whole thing. You have the election management body. You have the political actors. Now I'm going to situate a scenario for us here. The United States, they've just finished an election, right? If you go there now, they are no longer talking about the election that took place. They are not talking about governance.
Yes.
But in our own climb, even after election, we are still talking about election.
Yes.
We don't even create a platform for those that have won by hook or crook to be able to
credibly.
Yes, that's why. However they have won, they are in office. We don't even give them opportunity to govern. We still try to distract them with our political activism, with our political engagements. That is not the way to grow the political space. After the election, let's not immediately we finish an election, we start the process of another election. That's not the way to go.
You're charting the path for the different stakeholders and the role that they have to play in ensuring that we have credible elections. We'll go on a break now. Electoral Reform Half Hour continues shortly. Stay with us. Glad to have you back. We're still speaking with Comrade Christopher Isiguzo, former president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. With the decline of print journalism and the rise of digital platforms, what challenges and opportunities do you see for election reporting in Nigeria?
Yes, the traditional media professionals have that concern. Let me not say fear. You know that with the advent of digital journalism or media platforms, that it does appear that they are getting out of business. But I don't think that is the truth. You know, today, space, the social media platforms and what have you, the real practitioners don't seem to be actively involved. And that is why, I know you will still get to that. That is why we seem to have issue around fake news spreading, you know.
So you can zero in on that.
Good.
So
you know, that's why we seem to have that.
Yes.
Because the untrained, permit me to use that, persons have taken over the space. Now, the real practitioners, because by the time the people who don't seem to understand how it operates are churning out whatever they are putting there, and you, the professional, now goes there to say, no, this is the way it is. I can tell you that disinformation will give way from the social media.
Yes,
we need to be actively involved, because the Gen Zs, they are on the social media. They are not reading the newspaper, the traditional media platform. They have no business with that. Every day they are on TikTok. That is why the professionals, and I'm happy, so many journalists are now beginning to
the online.
Yes, they are. If you see most of the key online platforms, they are owned by thoroughbred professionals. You know, they are now beginning to understand it. A situation that you may be surprised if I tell you there are so many journalists, skilled journalists, professional journalists, they are not on the social media. When you tell them, they say, no, I don't want to go there. Where do you want to go to? We have opportunities there. You see people that are not trained. By the time they post something, they have people, readership, they have the audience is there, the followership is there, and they are making their money every day.
And 90% of the time, they are turning out.
Good. Every other day, they are announcing new structures, new buildings, new houses, buying cars and all that. It's from social media. Those opportunities are there. It's just for us to take it. And we seem to be so complacent, so relaxed. So in our traditional platforms.
Because once I go to this place, I see that your passion increases. So with African Center for Leadership and Strategy, Center LSD, just last week, a few days ago, had a conversation around one-day election policy dialogue. There are a lot of people are thinking that if we have all our elections in one day, governorship, presidential, House of Reps, that it could maybe it could be a smart way out of some of the challenges that we have. And I know that you are not just you've earned your badge around not just observing elections in Nigeria. What do you think? Do you think that's one way to go, or what do you really think about?
There is this saying, Rome was not built in a day. Yes, people will say that we have stayed for some years and enjoying our unbroken democracy. But have we got there yet? The answer is no. We are still making efforts, you know, so many transformative initiatives. If you look at the election management body, every quarter they organize a quarterly media engagement where we discuss. Senior journalists, we have conversations, guide them on some of their, you know, efforts, initiatives, very beautiful ideas they are bringing up on Mahmoud Yakubu. You know, we guide them. Yes, the idea that people are talking about, have our election in one day, beautiful. But we need to ensure that we have the necessary structures. You know, if you go to United States today, I always, you know, much as we may not be excited with, especially with the last election, but the fact is still remains that they are doing well. When you come to democracy, discussing democracy, they are miles up compared to other democracies in the world. That's the truth. You know, do they do the elections in one day? The answer is no. It flows several days. People vote even before the election day. That's it. It makes it seamless. You know, we are going to get to that point. You know, now we have divided our process. You do I think National Assembly, you know, and you do presidency
together
and all that. Yes, for now All we need to do is to strengthen the structures for the system that we have. Make it work for us. You know, it's just why we keep talking about this is because we are yet to have that confidence in the system. You know, people felt if we had an election in one day, we probably will have a different result. You know, do something differently. Beautiful. But we can also strengthen the structures that we have at this moment.
There is also loud voices around diaspora voting.
Beautiful. I subscribe to it. They too should decide. They must make contribution on who presides over the affairs of their home countries. You understand? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Once the structures are put in place, made strong enough, so that it's not a situation where we are yet to even effectively count the votes here at home. And we are talking about votes abroad. Once it works here, and we set a template that will make it even easier to also allow people who are in other parts of the country to also exercise their franchise. What we do, it is us Nigerians that will build Nigeria. Absolutely. Nobody is going to do it for us. People have this imagination that we need to bring somebody from the moon to come and make democracy in Nigeria work. No, every Nigerian must be part of it. But when we wake up every day and all we do is to, badmouth our country, talk down on the country, paint a gloomy picture about Nigeria, we are not building Nigeria.
We're coming, to the closing mark of this program. But as we are talking, I was just thinking, are there just 3 electoral reform issues that you think civil society, policymakers, the media can engage within the short time that the National Assembly is doing?
Principally, I'm thinking that the political class, we need to engage them, so actively, and let them understand one thing, that whenever you go to the football pitch, it's either you win or you lose. You understand? When you have that imagination that you must win, then that's where we have problem in the system. You understand?
So the win at all costs situation.
That is it. We must begin to change that mindset.
Mr. President, this is where we draw the curtain on the episode of Electoral Reform Half Hour, and we wish to specially thank you. I am particularly excited that you were able to come, Comrade Christopher Isigizo MFR, for your insights on the program. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Electoral Reform Half Hour is brought to you by the Peering Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa and with support from MacArthur Foundation. We are live every Saturday from 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. with a repeat broadcast every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. on same station. Thank you for watching. I am Ezen Wawagu.